So Rory's back, and I'm not sure if you guys watched an episode that we did. We talked about the trust recession that everyone's marketing about and why so many online business owners are really struggling with paid ads with their content. Nothing's converting. It seems like you can't get good leads. And we had a really good discussion around the broken trust because I don't think it's trust at all. I think it really came down to a lot of people bought into broken marketing mechanics, no foundations. They were using tactics that the market now is just scrolls by and keeps going, because trust has always been an issue when you're talking about sales. And so Rory and I want to discuss because he works with clients. I don't run ads. I hate ads. He loves ads. He run ads. And he continually crushes book a call funnels for clients, getting webinar registrations, closing deals. So what does he really do differently fundamentally and all those pieces of running ads that most people miss, but also try to overcomplicate? And so we really want to discuss that. So if you're watching this and you're running ads, you might have a coach, you might have hired a coach, you might have gone through a program and they're telling you all of these things and it's not working. Well, at some point, and Rory's a pretty blunt guy, especially if you follow him online, you'll see that. He's got an amazing Facebook group, honest reviews, brutally honest reviews of Facebook ads. And both him and I, we don't attack individuals, but we will tell people the truth. Sometimes the most loving thing I can do to somebody is like, hey, Rory, you got a big chunk of broccoli in your teeth, right? And if I see him doing something stupid, I need to tell him sometimes honestly. And sometimes we as business owners or someone's running ads, 90 days goes by with no results and we think we should still push forward. At what point do you step back? And so Rory, let's kind of talk about like what one of your clients recently that
Yeah.
webinar, what you're doing to actually get results for them.
Yeah, I want to take one moment just to take a step back.
Please.
You mentioned something interesting when you were talking about our previous call and the trust recession and using bad marketing tactics and whatnot. And I think, at least from where I stand, there's one thing I want to add that you kind of stepped over.
Yeah.
And this might be a landmine or a grenade, and we'll have fun with it. But I don't think it's just that. I also think that, again, framing wise, trust is gone, not because people don't trust, but because they've been fucked over by disgusting marketing tactics by people who have no moral compass whatsoever and will say whatever the hell it takes to get you to pull out your wallet and pay them. And I think from our conversation previously on the show, as well as just in Messenger and whatnot, I think you see it the same way. That just, but not mentioning it, at least the way I see it and heard it, is a disservice, I think, to our audience.
I and thank you for being a little bit more aggressive with it. I couldn't agree more, and so if you're an online business owner and you're running ads and you're not getting results or you're getting people showing up on the call and they're not buying from you, it might not be your offer. I bet you there's a big portion of that. That's the problem, which Rory and I'll get into. But you have to understand that person's probably hopped on a phone call with two, three, five other individuals and probably have bought from one or two others where they were promised this, didn't get it,
Yep.
got screwed, have a bad taste in their mouth. That bad taste in their mouth is going to be reflected on you if you don't do something different. And that's really what some of our conversation will be on. And because Roy was so aggressive there, him and I have been in the industry for a long time. We've worked with a lot of people behind the scenes, from marketing agencies to different business offers. We see some of the chaos in the back that most people don't. We also see some of the lies that get put out there that we just shake our head at. And that was one of the things that actually started a conversation on trust. It was me seeing three of the top gurus, quote unquote, all talking trust funnel, and me going, I know that they're not changing their back end. And it's just a marketing thing to, as Rory said, just to take your money and get you to do it. And then when you jump on the sales call, you're lied to and treated like crap and bullied till you buy.
Yeah.
And I don't think any real business owner wants to run a business that way, that's based off of incorrect information up front and have to bully somebody in the back.
I can't tell you how many times when I was at a previous coaching company, clients would say to me, well, I thought this was going to be easy. And then I have to explain that no, there's work involved. Oh, I wish I would have known that up front. Well, let me ask you something, because I know this, I know the sales reps, and most of them, very, very big hearts, mean very well. Like, let me just ask you something. Would you have invested $10,000, whether it was pay in full or whether it was a payment plan, if they had told you, yeah, we can't guarantee you results and the ads are going to vary from day to day, and the first 30 days you're probably not going to see a single dime back, you're going to want to pull out your would you buy? And they'd say no. So, well, then, I mean, like, here we are. And I didn't say it to try and like backpedal and excuse the hard salesmanship. It was really just trying to hold up a mirror and be like, listen, like, you have to understand that, like, there's a fucking process here. And just because you're told one thing, and I feel so slimy fucking sharing this story, because it's like, how did I work for a company like this? And how did I say these things? But you can see, like, I guess, kind of the extreme polarity. Like, yeah, I mean, ads can become easy after you've invested in them for X number of months and gotten your teeth kicked in and, worked the numbers and massaged the messaging and figured it out. Why people don't tell that, I don't know. But again, at the same time, there is an extent of, if you're told the truth, you're not going to buy.
Yeah. And well, yes and no. I'm gonna push back on you on that one a little bit. One of the places I did sales and client fulfillment with, and was Brendan Kelly with Video Growth Systems, and they did a do it for you model for, we'll write all your ads, we'll write all of your webinar, we'll write all your copy, your pre-sale materials, we do everything, your email, everything.
Yep.
We write it and put it all, and then we'll run the ads, and you just have to sit back and take calls. The amount of people that I would talk to on the phone, and Brendan loved having me as their sales rep and client fulfillment, because he knew I would never bring in somebody that wasn't going to be a fit.
Yep.
Now that fit could be their offer. Like, hey, I help you lose 12 pounds in 6 weeks. That's not an offer you're going to run ads to and sell someone on an $8,000 offer.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I help you manifest money. It's always crazy how many people that help you manifest money have no money to do anything. But he knew I wouldn't even offer somebody a spot to work with us if I knew there was going to be major issues, or if I discussed those hurdles very specifically with that individual. And every person that bought, I would discuss, hey, here's what we all want it to, where you hit button, 5 calls show up in your calendar in 24 hours, all 5 of them drop and buy from you 100%. That's what we want to have happen. That's not the real world, even though the marketing out there tells you that that's the way that it works. It doesn't. Yep. And to your point, sometimes I would have to discuss with people too about a runway, because we'd be talking about, hey, so where is your business right now? Where your financial situation? To get started with us, it's going to be 20K. The thing that scares me is when we launch in 6 weeks, that for the next 2 months to cover our retainer and your ad spend, do you have a big enough runway to handle that? And people would be like, whoa, yeah. And there were a lot of people that said, we're going with you guys for a lot of reasons. We love to do it for you aspect, but you're the only one that honestly said, hey, you're probably going to need a runway like this. Only one that said, hey, these are going to be actual probably cost per call, not lying to someone going, oh yeah, it's going to be $60 cost per call. Everyone's going to show up. No one's going to cancel ever, because, and just a bunch of BS to get someone to feel comfortable. And to give your money, and then on the back end be like, okay, well, we'll deal with the problem when they're in. And I don't like doing business that way. And I think it's pretty rough, which is, again, kind of where the online marketing space has kind of gotten itself into, because of many people that have gone through that. So let's go back and let's talk about ads now.
We will. One thing I want to clarify is I'm glad you called me out on that whole you wouldn't buy if you knew the truth. I knew the minute I said that was bullshit. It just sounded
Yeah.
bad, but yeah, I'm glad because I agree. Like you just need to talk to the right people. In fact, I probably don't close as many people as I could into my agency because I tell them, be like, oh, what's your guarantee? My guarantee is I'm going to work my ass off for you, and that if you follow the numbers and you follow my advice, you'll have something that works. How fast? I don't know. Well, what kind of ROAS? I was just on a call with a guy who promised me, six. Great. They're lying to you. You can go with them.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree more. I've lost clients because of that too.
Yeah.
Well, how can you guarantee me that what you'll do with it inside my business is actually going to make this work?
Yeah.
Well, I can't guarantee, but and we'll get into some of this, if we go by actual tried and true decade after decade after decade after decade of real marketing fundamentals and build your business and your brand correctly, and we'll get into messaging and positioning and that type of stuff, I'm sure, when we start talking about the ads, of those things all matter. Otherwise, they're going to talk to 5 other people, and to your point, and a lot of people don't even realize they're getting people showing up in a call like this. And when they're like, hey, so do you want to start? Well, let me think about it. Yeah, it's because they have 3 other people that they've been talking to, and those 3 are giving them something different. Now there's a bunch of things and you're not clear and you're not specific. That's why I prefer to be transparent and trustworthy right up front. And here is that 5 times ROI. Cool. If that person could do it, I would go with that person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, I've never seen it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
Like, so that's pretty amazing. And some of those people end up coming back.
Yeah. Yeah. They do. They do.
So it's a weird thing out there, and I don't want to say, hey, they're bad clients and they're trouble clients, because I don't think that's true. They're protecting their own business. And I hate that too. That's always something that's been bothered me, that you'll see in the space of like, oh, I don't want to work with those hard clients. No, that's someone's business or livelihood. Right? Like, or whatever you're coaching somebody on, like you're doing a major thing in their life. They should be very particular and specific of who they actually work with. And so, can you actually run ads to make people go? That is the individual, is what's really important, what we need to talk about here today.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So where let's go back to the question about talking about ads. I don't even remember what you said before I sort of
Well, right before we hit record, we kind of chatted for a couple of minutes, and you were talking about a new book of call funnel you just launched.
Yep.
Perfect Blue Ocean.
Yep.
The registration numbers are off the hook, and what you kind of been doing. So let's just start there.
Okay. So yeah. So Sunday I launched ads, and it's a blue ocean. I'm obviously not at liberty nor even willing to discuss what the offer is, what the niche is, none of it. But the point that we'll have to focus on is it's very, very blue ocean right now. Like, I had a feeling it would do well. We'll come back to this. I still projected very bad numbers to get the client buy-in, because I did not expect it to do as well as it's doing. It's insane. But it's a blue ocean. So this is the first webinar I've had anything to do with on this particular topic. I've not seen webinars on this topic. We started ads Sunday around 4 p.m.-ish, let's just call it. We spent $140 on Sunday. We spent $1,400 on Monday. We spent close to $2,500 yesterday. And I'm projecting around $7,000 to $8,000 today in ad spend. Now, a couple things, if no one is paying attention right now or doesn't grasp this, that's probably one of the most aggressive scales I've ever done in my entire life.
I was going to say, you jumped that up really quick.
Yeah, very, very aggressive scale. And the numbers have been pretty solid, not going to lie.
There's 2 things I want to touch base on there.
Yeah.
First, I want to talk about the fundamentals there to make sure people understand. And then number two, you very oftentimes are people will tell you, hey, you launch it at this much and then you leave it for 5 days or 10 days or 15, right? They have some cliche number that they throw, and obviously you're breaking those rules. So I want to talk about that that's a really important thing.
Absolutely.
But going back to the fundamentals of a business, you talk about a blue ocean.
Yep.
I'm going to assume majority of people that watch this understand what you mean by that.
Yep.
But I want to really dive in there just in case they don't, but also why it's so important. Because the blue ocean is your offer so different and unique that you are in a blue ocean, it's you by yourself,
Yep.
right? Not a red ocean to where it's you and 100 competitors.
And let's go one layer deeper with the red ocean. Not only
Yeah.
is it 100 competitors, it's so fierce and competitive that the reason it's blue versus red, it's shark infested bloody waters.
Bloody water. Yeah.
Right. So when most markets right now, most markets are incredibly red ocean. The coaching industry, very much a red ocean. Make money online, very much a red ocean. One way to become somewhat of a blue ocean in BizOp, as an example of like, here's your next side hustle. Publicly, I think we can say publishing.com. Here's how to start a side hustle publishing books on Amazon.
Yep.
That's a bluer or less red ocean in BizOp. I say it's not totally blue ocean because Ty Cohen did Kindle Cash Flow how many flipping years ago at this point? And there are people out there, but again, like you can spin it a little bit.
Yep.
There are very, very few blue oceans. In fact, what's interesting is, so you mentioned my Facebook group, Brutally Honest Ad Reviews. And I want to make sure we talk about, really get into blue ocean, why it matters, messaging, and overall impact. What's fascinating is, so I have my youngest daughter is in her, I want to say, third year playing competitive volleyball. And she wants to go play D1. I have no idea where this came from. One day she woke up and said, "Mom, I want to play volleyball and I want to go to D1." And we're like, "Okay." And she has just gone out and done it. And so the other day I saw an ad on Facebook from a company called Athlete to Athlete. The image, and we'll break this down, right? Because this is important for messaging and ads and everything. So the image was very simple background with 3 athletes in it. One was a Florida Gator softball player. Another one was from this university playing another, and a third one. And it literally was like, get connected with a D1 athlete today. That's blue ocean.
Yeah.
That first interaction, the first time I've seen that, since then I've seen 5 different ads. And it's still somewhat blue ocean because it's not like every fucking ad is the same damn thing with the same damn message. But I was like, wow, that's brilliant. I didn't hear about that when I played sports.
Yeah.
This is Athlete to Athlete, is a company that pairs you up with a D1 athlete for one-to-one virtual mentorship. How awesome is that? That's
Yeah,
really
it's amazing.
cool. So that's
and if we don't, we can always go deep dive into position in blue ocean, but I want to stay here, and I'm sure people are listening a little bit, and I want to take a step back because that's where most ads fail, right? And it's one of the biggest things that I do with clients is getting that positioning down right, doing market research to actually look at, okay, you solve this problem, let's do market research. In most businesses that I work with, they're in an industry has 2, 5, $10 billion spent, right? So it's a large amount of money.
Yep.
Right? And if you're just trying to get $1 million a year out of that, that's a very, very, very small sliver of the pie. The problem is you sound like 100 other people. And so the blue ocean part sometimes isn't, and you alluded to this, And I experienced this because of being in fitness for 20 years. You take a rock and you throw it out the window and you hit another fitness studio, right?
The most competitive industry, period, is
Yeah.
fitness.
And when I had my brick and mortar business, there was one right across the street, right outside my windows. There was one a block down the street. There was a block the other way over. There was two major boxes within 2 miles. So within just a 2 mile radius, there were six of us.
Yeah.
Two big boxes and four private ones, right? How do people decide where to go, right? And that's the problem with most people when they're online is you have way more people to compete with because you're online. And so, how do you position yourself differently,
Yeah.
strategically, still hitting the same pain points, still emotional triggers, but then also a lot of people miss brand identity, brand voice, and also brand communication because they all attract a certain type of individual. And, talking about fitness, if you're just out there, hey, come in for our 6-week challenge, lose 15 pounds or your money back, right? Like that sounds like everybody. Nobody wants that.
Everybody's saying that these days. So we have to talk about market sophistication, right? That hits market sophistication. I want to sidebar for 1 second.
Yeah.
So what you were just describing with the fitness space and your actual real experience, one of my favorite ads ever, and I wish I could find it. The concept was, and I don't remember, it was a TV commercial, whether it was an YouTube ad, something, right? It was some type of video where there was a barber, come in, get your hair cut today. And very, very busy guy. All of a sudden, a new barber shop opens up across the way, $7 haircuts. More people start going there. So he drops his price, $6 haircuts.
Race to the bottom.
Right? Everybody goes over there. They drop their price to $5 haircuts. Everybody's going back over there. He finally stops and changes his marketing to, we fix $5 haircuts.
Yep.
And he's flooded. Like that's one of the core messages, in my opinion, of the difference between blue ocean and red ocean. Agreed. And it can be that easy just by changing the messaging. Yes. Just by disrupting an industry. And that's
and to speak to that too. So you're speaking to the identity of an individual. It sounds so simplistic. We fix $5 haircuts. I always, when I'm working with a client, we discuss things up front of somebody that's not your ideal client. We don't want to talk to them. We want to talk to someone that's high results, high value, or a luxury type of buyer.
Yeah.
Right. And so that we fix $5 haircuts is talking to that high results, high value individual that will pay more for a better service.
Yep.
Because they don't want to waste the time of, I'll rather pay 3 times the amount on this to ensure XYZ outcome, then go over here, pay a third less, have it take 3 times as long, and me have to fix things continuously. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's funny as you talk about this, I'm reminded. So there's a place around the corner from my house where, I've been here 14 years, and we go to a very, it's a decent sized chain haircut place down here called Great Clips. I think when we first moved down here, haircuts were like $12. We went in, we got a haircut. Like, who gives a shit? $12 haircut, whatever. In comes this company called Sports Clips. You familiar with Sports Clips?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
$35 for a haircut.
Yep.
Money alone, $12.35. I'm going $12 haircut all day, every day, especially because I'm a guy, right? I'm a guy. Women, totally different story. But guy, just come in, clean up my hair, don't give a shit. Checked it out. Why not? Let's see. $35. They wash and condition your hair. They rub the scalp and massage the scalp. They use a neck massager for X amount of minutes. I feel like I'm walking out pampered.
Yep.
Hell yeah, I'm paying $35 for that. Price is no longer an issue.
Yep. And on top of it, you got your TVs and sports going on, right?
That doesn't do much for me, but
Oh, I
also,
know, but
yeah,
that's the
yeah,
sports part of
yeah,
sport cuts, right?
yeah,
And so you're getting
unless,
pampered and you can watch TV and yeah.
yeah. Well, the reason I bring that up is for me, the times that I go in, it's usually during the day, so there's no games on. It's usually Stephen A. Smith just running his mouth off, and it's like, would
Yeah.
you just shut the hell up?
Yeah. Gosh, he
But
gets
yeah, like if I went
personal.
during a hockey game or a football game, yeah, that'd be great, perfect. But yeah, I mean, so price is not everything; it's the experience.
Yep.
And truthfully, if we go even further, one of the main reasons I even bothered trying sports clips to begin with, the person who cut my hair left the $12 place and went to the $35 place, and I'm like, no, I'm going where you are. I'm going to check it out.
Yep.
So,
Yep. And you're fine with it now.
yep,
You know, and as example, talking about experience there too, again, of like how many people have had a bad experience in their life on what you're trying to do, or they doubt themselves, or all these type of things that we mentally just play. Like you said, I'm not paying 35 bucks. Once you experienced it, oh yes, that's exactly where
yeah,
I'm going. Right. And how can you get that in your marketing to get them to experience and feel
yeah.
that is so important too.
I'll again sort of sidebar, but I'll tell you another experience that hopefully more business people will understand and appreciate. I always thought it was so stupid to spend 3 or 4 more times the price of a coach airline ticket for first class. And ever since I've flown first class, I won't ever fly anything ever again.
Yep.
The caliber of people, the way you get treated is well worth. Now, granted, just so everybody knows, I'm not a baller. I don't fly a lot, right? So it's not like I'm flying first class constantly.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it is a different experience that
A
like
thousand
once you
percent.
have it,
A thousand
um,
percent.
yeah,
And all of those are key things. A lot of people want, if you're looking at your offer and running ads, again, you have to sometimes step back and go, why isn't this? And these go back to marketing fundamentals again,
all
right?
fundamental.
And so I think we spent some time on blue ocean and positioning and on a different
Sure.
conversation.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get down there, especially like trying to talk about ads. So it gave people a little bit of a taste and
Yeah,
understand
yeah, yeah, for
there.
sure. So let's
Um,
talk about the ads, right? So I had said to you, I'm running for this new webinar, Blue Ocean, which basically just means not really competitive marketplace, something very hot and trendy that people are gravitating towards. That's the important high level stuff right now.
yep.
I told the client, he said, yeah, how much is a webinar registrant these days? We're looking at like $10. I said, no, 20. If you want to get where the people that you're going after, it's $20. We're averaging, I want to say right now, $11 to $12.
Beautiful.
And yes, I paused there for a moment because within the first 24 hours of launch, I got it down to about $6. But when you're going from 140 to 1400 to 2500 to 7000, that type of scale with all sorts of testing, you're going to have outliers.
Yeah.
Right. But yeah, so I think we're sitting right around $10 or $11. It, varies throughout the day and whatnot. But again, like part of the conversation was I'm doing the same shit that I ran, ads 10 years ago. There's absolutely nothing different about it. Facebook ad platform changes be damned. I'm not doing anything different. You hit the nail on the head earlier. I forget what context it was under, but I'm literally applying fundamental direct response marketing principles. That's it.
Yeah. And they don't change, right? If we use TV as an example, has a car commercial changed in the last 50 years? Has a movie trailer changed in the last 50 years? Has a soda commercial changed? They're all the same, right? Because these fundamentals work. And so a lot of it doesn't come down to the fundamentals, it has the other variables that come into play. And most people don't do the fundamentals just correctly. And so like being shocked. Now I love the fact that you were transparent and completely honest with your client saying, no, we're looking at $20. people that are watching this probably have hired somebody where they told them when someone said, "Hey, so is it $10?" Oh yeah, and I'll probably get it to 7 actually because I'm so good to get them to buy. And then all of a sudden you're in someone's program and you're realizing you're at 20, 25, 30, and you're pissed and you're stressed and you're not sure, and it puts just a horrible place for your business to be in.
Hmm.
It's one of the reasons why, again, I will tell people the truth, even if I'm going to lose a client because of it. Because if I lie to a client and say, hey, it's going to be, yeah, I'll do $10, 100%. And then we're at 17, they're in a bad scenario mentally. It's a bad mental space. And I'm turning that really good client into a potential bad client or someone that asks for a refund or whatever. And that's where so many people now don't quote unquote have trust because they were told, hey, I'll do it for $5. I can do it for $5. They launch, it's at 20, and they never even get a chance to actually let someone like you actually work through it and get them to a 10. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think it's amazing that you were honest with them right up front, but then on top of it, you crushed it. You beat that number, which is going to put that person in a level of excitement to go, hey, let's ramp this up. So
Yeah. I mean, so, yeah. I mean, I've got to be honest. I've got to let people know what's really going on. I'm ecstatic with the numbers the way they are right now. There is, of course, we'll talk about truth and transparency, right? And I'm just going to point it out because people
yeah,
need to know it. Um, I'm not going to do any sort of dance whatsoever based on the cost per lead or the volume of leads until I know how the sales shake out. Because that's all that matters.
agreed.
In fact, I have right now our lowest cost per lead. The ad set with the lowest cost per lead is around 556. And our highest today with some fairly aggressive testing is $35. I actually thought this morning about shutting the $35 ones off, and I'm like, why? Number one, at the end of the day, the overall average is still at 12.
Yeah,
And number two, I need to know where my buyers are. The
yeah.
people signing up that I'm getting registrants for $5, $6 might not buy. It might be the pocket that is 30. That's what I care about. And then
I
what? Go ahead.
yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. So many people talk about, hey, what should numbers be? What should numbers be? And it's hard to tell someone the truth and say it depends on the niche, it depends on the offer, it depends on the marketplace or a lot of variables. It depends on your buyers, right? And a lot of people are coached or they have someone running, hey, $5, $36. Where are they all gonna go automatically? Always to the $5. But your point there was I need to find out where the buyers are. If you're going, we're doing the $5 one, and now over the next 30 days, no one buys. You have a bunch of cancellations. Um, it's chaos, and you waste a ton of money. Where the 35, and I'm not saying this is what's going to happen with this offer, but just use an example that out of that 35, you're getting sales, you're getting a higher show up rate, you're getting all around better response. You go with the 35. But so many people are, hey, I'm going to chase this lower number rather than chase what makes you profitable.
Yeah. And I'm so out of curiosity, I'm looking in the ad account right now. What's fascinating is my best performing ad set since we launched, and I've scaled it. So it's not like we're just sitting at the same budget for it to optimize. Today, it's my highest by far, like 2 standard deviations above the second highest, with 3 registrants at 4761. I think most people would go, yep, time to trim that. But if I go, all right, let's do this week when we launched, 144 registrants at an average of $6.70.
Yeah. And
Talk
like you
about
said, you got to figure out where people are coming from, and it's not always chasing those numbers. It's chasing results is what you should be chasing. You kind of just brought that up too about scaling. And I don't want to forget about that
Yeah.
point. So you've scaled and increased very, very quickly with that. Why were you able to do that? When so many times people are said, hey, you do this, you don't touch it for 7 days or
Yeah.
whatever it may be.
I'm glad you came back to that. That you're right. So when I'm coaching or consulting with an advertiser, that is step number one. Launch your ad. You need to give it about 72 hours to a week, depending upon what your budget is. That is standard advice. The reason I can scale faster, there's a couple factors here. Number one, the sheer volume of ad spend that I've run lets me, I shouldn't say lets me, gives me far greater confidence and clarity into the numbers than someone who hasn't. So it's definitely confidence behind the stick. Like the guy that I communicate. So this is a fairly decent sized project. There's 3 key players. Plus me. I'm not one of the key players, right? I'm obviously playing a significant role, but I'm not a key player. So the guy I communicate with, he's like, dude, we need to spend $3,000 a day, assuming we had got the ads launched when we wanted to, this, that, and the other thing. He's like, and he's run ads. And he's like, I can't do $3,000 a day. I'm like, I'd do $3,000 a day with my eyes closed. Like, get the fuck out of here. Like, I'm comfortable at 50, 60 grand a day.
Yeah.
And I don't say that to be arrogant. Like that's confidence because I've done it. If you haven't done it, it's very daunting. So there is that, again, there's that level of confidence and the fact that I've got that skill set under my belt. I know how to scale aggressively. So for instance, it's not like I took the $250 campaign and raised it to 7,000. I spread that out. I introduced new audiences. I introduced new creatives. I tested different country, like all sorts of ways. And the next thing is too, with knowing the numbers, like, so people ask me all the time, they're like, Rory, where do you start your budgets at? So we'll back up too, because this is important. If I've got an unproven offer, I'm probably going to spend $100, $150 a day. If I have, and actually, let's just start there. So I started $100, $150 a day. If I'm consistently making sales and I'm above 1.01111 ROAS, and I know my business goals, I'll have no problem launching the next one at 200, 500, 1,000, like, because I know my numbers. If I don't know my numbers, I'm going to be more conservative. The next part of it comes down to, which I could not do what I'm doing right now if I didn't have a client with huge balls, the ability to minimize risk, right? By saying, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to get this, worst case outcome, we're going to get this, and we're going to do this. That, again, that's all part of huge balls, right?
Yeah.
And then it's just a matter of, all right, let's fucking go. And the only reason I'm scaling this way is because the numbers were so good out of the gate. If the numbers weren't good out of the gate, I would have said, sorry, I can't scale this fast.
Yep. And you bring up a good point there. So many people are, I'm trying to remember who the guy originally kind of coined the phrase a lot of people use, but the one that makes the most can spend the most.
He who was it the business that can spend the most to acquire a customer wins.
Yeah. Yep. And it's funny because you hear that all the time, like, oh, you want to make more, get more clients, spend more.
Yep.
And I'm glad you brought up, hey, if I'm just starting off with like an unproven offer, I'm going to spend 100, 150, 200 bucks a day. Which, I think it's 100%. I couldn't agree more, and again, one of the agencies I worked with, that's what we told everybody, you know, it's going to be 100 bucks a day. So $3,000 a month. Now, because it's an unproven offer, this could take 4 to 12 weeks to really dial it in.
Yep.
So do you have $3,000 for 3 months? So let's just round it to 10K to be able to go, hey, here's what it is. And that doesn't stress you out. And let's say you don't make a sale at all there.
Yep. There you go.
Is that okay? Is that
Yep.
okay with you? Right? Now, that's not the goal. The goal is we launch the very first week, you're getting calls booked and you're making sales.
Yep.
Right? But here's worst case scenario with where you're at in your business.
Yep. I love it. People ask me all the time, Rory, what kind of budget do I need for the first month to get started? Well, I'd like you to be at $100 to $150 a day. Oh, if I hear, oh, that's no problem, great. If I hear, oh, hard stop.
Yep.
What number are you comfortable spending? Well, I don't know. I'm hoping for you to like, okay. One question. How much money do you have right now that you are willing to set on fire and you're okay with it? 200 bucks. Great. There's your budget for month number 1.
Yep.
I'm not your guy to run it, but you've
Yep.
just found your budget. You need to be willing to fucking lose it.
Yep.
Without,
and you just going through those example questions, because I know you get those DMs, right? Like that, you get that quite a bit. Right there shows too, again, it's not a trust recession. Sometimes it's confusion.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not understanding what's going on because hey, this marketer is saying, hey, I can get you $7 a day and you're going to make $10,000 a day and right? Like there's so much BS out there and so much stuff you have to, and this goes with every industry.
Yeah.
Right? And if we go back to fitness, everybody knows you can't lose 100 pounds in 30 days. You'll still, and I'm not saying there's actually people running, hey, lose 100 pounds in 30 days, but there is ridiculous stuff out there like that, right? And people are sick of it. And so some people are asking questions and they don't know. And so them asking well, I was hoping you'd tell me, well, and I think your question back is beautiful. How much are you willing to spend, right? Like right there, $200 for the month. That's not your ideal client.
Yeah, not my ideal client, but again, that's a separate issue, right? Like,
correct.
The reality boils down to, what can you afford to spend?
Yep.
What can you piss away?
Yep.
What could you take to Vegas, throw down on the table, throw into a slot machine, and be fine without getting it back? That's how you determine your ad budget.
Yep. Now, this actually brings up a different question I have for you now. When you're running ads, and you're working with a business, when do you, if I was talking to a client, I'm like, hey, this is the point where it's telling you need to make a change, you need to make a pivot. Your response to someone, hey, this is where it's telling you that your offer just effing sucks, right? We both see a bunch of people out there that they've been trying to run ads to the same book a call funnel, slight little tweaks, changes here, over the past 3 months, 6 months, even 3 years sometimes.
Yeah.
Where you can't tell me that the results they're getting, they're happy with. Hey, yeah, I had to stop ads because the last 4 months I haven't made one sale. Or I had to stop ads for 6 months because I didn't make any sales. I'm going to start again. When do you tell a client during that runway period of 30 days, 60 days, 90 days to go and we can keep pumping money into this, but it's never going to work unless we make a change or a pivot?
That is a fantastic question. And in some ways I was dreading the fact that you were going here, but at the same time, I mean, I'm dreading it because of how I have to answer it. I'm happy you asked it because people need to hear this. Number one, there's no one size fits all answer.
Agreed.
It really does depend on your budget, your goals, your learning curve. So for instance, if you're a new coach and I'm running ads for you at $20 a day, we're booking calls at $200 a day, and you're not enrolling anyone, we have to have the harsh talk of, can you actually fucking sell?
Yep.
And don't tell me, oh, I used to sell radio ads 20 years ago. No. Have you ever sold to cold fucking traffic through Facebook ads and a VSL funnel? No. Great. Chances are really good you're the problem.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying that because I'm the advertiser. I'm being serious, because the other side of the coin really is like, well, maybe it's the wrong person. Maybe it's the quality of the people. I ran ads for a 7-figure.
Let's stop there real quick.
Yep.
And I'm glad you brought that second part up, because in reality, people, if you're working with a 7-8 figure business, you got multiple teams, you got big teams, blah, blah, blah. That's kind of always a joke. Sales guys always are yelling at the marketing people, you're not bringing me good qualified leads. The marketers are like, you can't close anybody.
Yep.
So who's right?
Yeah.
And as a business owner, especially a solarpreneur, it's your business, you're the one doing the sales calls. It's hard to sometimes look in the mirror and go, I just really suck at sales.
Yeah.
And
everybody wants to blame everybody else.
Yeah. And I've done sales my whole career. Obviously fitness for 20 years, I have my own business, all that type of stuff. But the online high ticket space is very different, especially running to cold. And when I first got into that space about 8 years ago, the first 8 months, crash and burn, they $80,000 in the hole. Nothing worked. Now, that was a health offer I used to help people reverse rheumatoid arthritis naturally.
Oh.
$8,000 offer. Now, some of the people I was getting on the phone, they were incapacitated. They'd been on government assistance for the last 5-10 years of $1,000 income a month. These aren't my ideal clients. Number one, financially. Number two, where they were physically, they needed way more than what I could provide them. So a lot of the people that I got, and I would say probably, and this isn't a joke, but during 6-7 months, 98% of the people were in that situation.
Yeah.
The 2% were maybe closed one a month during that time, were my ideal fit. And I was trying to figure out what's the difference. And that's really where I started diving into copywriting and marketing, but also then started studying sales, especially for my specific niche as well, and the high ticket space, to get really good at that. And it's even why I worked at one of the agencies I did. I did it they ran a book a call funnel, and Brendan Kelly, who I talked about earlier. So I was learning sales, about getting better with that skill set as well. And you hit the nail on the head. Majority of owners aren't good at sales. And so you can go back very easily and be like, no, it's the ads that are failing. But there is that double-edged sword. There is a difference when you're getting wrong people. And if your marketing and your ads aren't on point, you're not going to be able to discern which is actually which.
Yeah. 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 So it's tough, right? So when I was trying to give an example, or another example, right? 7-figure launch, largely affiliate driven. The client needed help with their ads and wanted to turn it evergreen because the launch game sucks. Mind you, this is a multi 7-figure launch. She's saying it sucks. We need to do evergreen. So we take everything as is. That's our baseline. Take everything as is. We're going to compare apples to apples, meaning I'm going to run the same landing page, the same damn webinar to cold traffic that you've done to warm traffic and endorsed traffic, aka affiliate traffic.
Yep.
Even though I know there are things in there that I want to change, we have to run it as is. So we started running ads, webinar registrants, no problem. Very, what I mean by that is like very, reasonable. I mean, this was, I don't even know how many years ago it was. So you figure $8-10 webinar registrant, well within where we wanted to be and needed to be. Opt-in rate above 20%, which then verifies the traffic matches the offer on the front end anyway. Now we have to wait for the sales cycles because it was book a call. And I get, Rory, we've got all the wrong people. Okay. What data do we have to support that we have all the wrong people other than we've made no sales? I want a report from your sales director to the top 10 objections.
Yeah.
Number one objection. Care to guess what it was?
Think about it.
Actually, it was I don't have the money. But that's another
Yep.
Easy,
which are basically hand in hand the same thing.
But these people were more forthcoming. At
That's
least.
the trust recession coming in right there.
Yeah. So these people were more forthcoming. It wasn't I have to think about it. It was I literally just can't afford it.
Yeah.
I said, okay. I said, I can work with this. Let me audit the entire thing now, front to back. Landing page, one of the last bullet points. This will work for you even if you're just getting started. Webinar, 3 different mentions of, including at the call to action to book a call. Doesn't matter if you're just getting started and don't even have a business, this will work for you.
Yep.
We removed that. If I'm not mistaken, because this is just standard operating procedure for me when we do webinar stuff like this, you need to have a business that's generating at least X amount of dollars to make this work. Why? Because you're going to be investing in yourself and your company.
Yeah.
Those 2 changes changed everything.
Yep.
People don't realize the importance of messaging and being very, very clear to who you're speaking with. And we were talking about the whole reason I brought up this example was the he said, she said, right? Well, no, I'm giving you great leads versus, oh, these leads suck. No, it was the messaging wasn't clear.
Yep. And you bring up a really good point there of you don't need to redo everything. And I post about this a lot and discuss it a lot of the messaging alignment, and most people don't truly understand it. And I put a post out a couple months back of, I had to change 3 lines in a client's basic funnel to your point of when you remove this will work even if you're just starting. Yeah, that's where you got a bunch of people. And it's the same thing that I experienced with my rheumatoid arthritis one, that I was very clear, very specific, that if you can't afford this amount of money on food and supplements and can't dedicate a half hour a day doing this stuff, this isn't for you. That was one of the major changes I made it right off the bat. I also got a lot more clear and specific and said, hey, this is exactly what I do. So I was completely transparent so people knew, and I broke everything down. But all of a sudden now that the bad individuals weren't showing up.
Yeah.
Right? Because they knew, oh, I can't afford XYZ dollars. I can't afford this. And I'm not able to even get out of bed. Therefore, right? So it removes some of these things, which is so key. And some people they don't know how to do that. And then again, that's where it is the bad leads and wasn't bad sales, and understanding that. And you saying, hey, I want to hear what the top objections were is so key. And I talk about that all the time too. I want to hear clients' sales calls and listen. I was working with an individual just the other month and going through their sales call. I listened to 3 of them. 2 out of the 3, their sales call, I'm like, what happened with this one? Oh, that person just wasn't a good fit. I didn't want him as a client. I'm like, that person's a perfect client. Like, what are you doing? Like, what? And I had to have a discussion of like, why are you sabotaging you bringing in clients? What's going on? And we actually had a pretty good discussion, and it was a mental block they had going on. As dumb as that sounds, it came down to, well, I'm getting really stressed out of if I bring on a couple more clients, I'm gonna get too overwhelmed. So they sabotage their sales call, right? Like it's insane. Um, but there is that difference there between marketing and sales, and you have to know what you're doing, which is what we're kind of both talking about with specifics. And that individual, they wanted to run as is, didn't want to make any changes. They got the wrong people. You knew exactly where to pivot, and then I'm assuming there was no issues after that, or not obviously as many, right?
There were still some issues. I'll tell you one of the. This is totally unrelated, but it's part of the case study, and people need to hear this. We spent 3 months dialing in this automated webinar with the sales team in place, and it came up on the calendar for the next 7-figure launch. So we had to put the brakes on the automation, the automated webinar, to focus on the launch, which moved the sales teams to the launch. Automated webinar shit the bed and never came back. So once you have momentum, you can't fucking stop. You got to put your fucking foot down and go.
I think that's a really good key to go back to the question I asked you, like, when do you quit? Right. And I think that's so many problems that I see
Oh,
with
yeah.
online business owners in there too. Oh, I run for 2 months and then all of a sudden you quit for 4, right? Which is again why having knowing your runway and what you can do and to make this work. And I think being told truthfully, hey, this if this isn't working within 60 days within the budget you have, there needs to be something we need to look at and improve.
Yeah.
Or you shouldn't launch this until you make some more income organically or whatever it may be, right? Because
Yeah.
once you start going, the shutting off and the start up and stop up, like if I was your driving instructor and we're going on a freeway at 70 miles an hour, I'm not going to tell you to tap the brakes.
Yep.
It's stupid.
Yep.
Right. And too many people do that within their business.
Yeah. I always tell people, if we're running paid ads and you need to go on vacation and you need to stop your ads, because people would do this, right? Say, oh, I got to go on vacation for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm going to shut my ads off. Number one, congratulations. You don't have a fucking business. You have a job. Number two, plan on at least a 6-week setback to build that momentum back.
Yeah.
Plan on it. I have a
relax on that vacation because it'd be really stressful when you get back.
Yep. I have a pretty good friend. We worked together at a coaching company. He was there for 8 years. I was there for 2 years. I share those numbers because one would hope that after 8 years of working at a coaching company, writing copy for high ticket offers, you would know this. He would spend a couple $100, run out of money. Oh, we got to pause the ads. A couple months go by. All right, I got $1,000. Let's run the ads. Oh, they did, pause them again. Like, you can't do that. No. I mean, you can, right? Lots of us face it. I'll raise my hand, not like I'm shitting on my friend. I'll raise my hand. I've had to do it. Because if you run out of money, you run out of money, you run out of money. But that's literally the worst thing that you can do.
Yeah.
Literally the worst thing you can do is start, stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. It sucks. It absolutely sucks.
And I think budgeting people, at the very beginning and having, and again, that's where it goes back to the transparency and being honest with someone, right? Like, hey, over the next 90 days, do you have that money? And to use, your terminology of that you just light it on fire, right? I always think of, of the Dark Knight and the Joker standing in it. Okay, I got a third of the mafia's money. Okay, I don't care about money. I'm just going to burn it, right? Same type of deal. You have to think about that to make your business, and that's part of being a business owner too. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to spend some money that doesn't work the way it is. That's business, right? Which is why if someone come back, oh, I can get you 5x ROAS. I can do this. Oh, you'll have your money back in your account in twice the amount in 10 days or less. Are you buying into wishes and dreams that don't become reality ever? Or are you actually looking at your business real? And what's the worst thing you can do to running ads? I agree more than anything of, 3 weeks. Oh, I didn't do anything. I got to stop for 3 weeks to make some more money. It's like that's not the way that you can run business. It just
Yeah,
doesn't make sense.
and I really want to say, like, that's not shitting on people, because things do come up, right? Things come up. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars trying to prove out a funnel where I'm spending, let's say, $3,000 a month, and I'll lose a client, so I lose my marketing budget. That shit, it happens.
Yeah.
And what I really should be doing is there's a lot of things, right? Let's put Rory on the couch. Number one, save fucking money. Stop spending it. Put it aside. Like, really, like, money comes in, money goes out. Money comes in, money goes out. No, set it aside. Put together. And so it's funny. Like, I can say this about myself. I can say this about my friend. I won't ever say this to a client. I need to know, if we're working together, you have $5,000 a month times 3 months for me. So that's $15K. You have $4,500 a month, because that's $150 a day times 3. So let's just round that. You've got $30,000.
Yep.
That isn't just going to get wiped out. If you don't have that, we probably shouldn't work together.
Yeah.
You have no business spending $5,000 on me if you don't have money consistently coming in. Like, you can't work with me on margins.
Agreed. 1,000%. You know, and again, that I've worked with multiple agencies, and so many of them out there, they don't tell people that back end. And so you're setting up for failure, right? It's if I go back to fitness, just to use an analogy, if you were coming to me to help you lose 50 pounds and you said, well, I'm paraplegic, and I get fed, I have to eat melted ice cream every single day, because of XYZ or something or another.
Mm-hmm.
You have to honestly say, I can't help you. Right? Like, it's the only right thing to do. And so many people have, I think, false assumptions on what it takes to be successful. And so I'm glad we went through some of the numbers. We're kind of leading into, like, geez, we have to do an episode 3 here, which I think we talk specifically about the ads, and we get back into, maybe even the blue ocean stuff.
Yeah.
Because now that kind of the technical stuff behind the scenes, we're covering a lot of that, but how do you actually format an ad correct? How do you go through some of the stuff too? Because I see too many people have no idea about that. And it's a big failure as well. So, and I know that both of us have to kind of jump. We've got appointments coming up here. So, anything you want to leave with, Rory?
Come back for more, because this is just piecemeal.
Awesome. I agree. And yeah, so let's plan that. We'll touch base after the next couple of days and get that scheduled, and appreciate, and again, anybody, check the
Oh, where'd you go?
Also in the comment section, if you want to put questions down in there, we'll answer them potentially right there, or potentially maybe talk about it in another video. So hope this helped anybody that has a business and struggling with ads, that how to start getting things working for you. So we'll talk soon.
Yeah, man, sounds good.